Hello, today I'm going to talk about this book, To Hell and Back Again, Norway, 1973-1991, my childhood story, written by, you know who I'm talking about. So this book starts with a narration, a description about the first memories from his childhood. He started to talk about he was born in Bergen, Norway, on the 11th of February in 1973. Also, he started to describe in a kind of way what their parents do. His dad was an engineer, and his mother was a very, polite and beautiful human being that she do all the best things to keep her kids in a good way, in a good shape, with a regular and nice lifestyle. So he continues describing that his dad was born in Berlin too after the war, and also some kind of memories about his grandparents. Then he continued this description, talking about the first place that he lives was in Bergen. Also, he have an older brother that in sometimes they share a tricycle, very common when you are a little kid. So after that, he have a very beautiful reflection about his life because he says, I am going to read this textually, on a foot trip but naturally never actually walking on the road itself. In life, you can follow the road that is there, try it and test it safe and easy. Or you can walk outside the common roads and either find overground spots unused by others for ages, or you can even carve your own paths in the land. Yes, you will struggle, fall, and sometimes hurt yourself, but you will also learn more and perhaps grow more as well, and probably have a lot more fun. I found this memory very interesting because, as he probably tried to tell us, we can follow the roads that are built, but some kind of rules. But sometimes you can avoid the regular track and take some kind of other routes. So this is really nice. Also, he started to talk about their first house that they bought, and the description of these years, of these early days, are really nice. When he started to talk about the first sandbox that his dad built for he and for his older brother. So the description continues during all these chapters, talking about that his mother have a very particular interest about the Germans, and he went to study to Germany in some of these years. And he reminds that he started to practice some kind of ski on the lakes in Bergen. After this description about his childhood, he talked about some kindergarten experience and some memories with some friends that he had on the little school in Norway. And then in the second part of the book, we can dig and get into some description about the when their parents moved to Baghdad on Iraq, the country, and he started to talk about Saddam Hussein that in 1979 he was modernizing Iraq. So some Europeans engineers like his dad moved to Iraq for work. So this second part have some nice and funny memories about his time on Iraq, and he reminds that some dogs, some street dogs, have some kind of disease that it was a little bit tricky that little kids go out on the streets and maybe get bite by these disease dogs, that these sick dogs that have some kind of situation around there. Also, he reminds that some personnel that work with this guy, Mr. Hussein, have some kind of jobs on the police and on the military stuff, and he reminds very well that some of these guys sometimes were a little bit rude and non-polite, but in other times or other days he reminds that they are, they will very nice with the foreigners, especially the people came from Scandinavia, like their parents. And also he reminds that he made some kind of friends there, but not so much like he probably made if he were in Norway. So that's really interesting. And the memories on Iraq are, are different. And he reminds that he shares some school time with other students, especially from Jordan and from all these parts of Iraq. That's a little bit, it was really interesting that he said that I was just a 6-year-old Norwegian kid on Iraqi public school, so he don't have any more friends from Norway that were particularly studying during those years on Iraq. On the weekends, he told that their parents used a Toyota that it was bring by the government, so they can, made some trips around there, around the city, and try to move through the streets on Iraq on this Toyota. Also, in the middle of the desert, he found some kind of interested mountains, some kind of sightseeing that you can find in this specific region, and some places that it was really interesting for the historical culture on Iraq. So it was very particular chapter about Tolkien and some kind of memories that he have on his time on Iraq. And after 1 year, his family returns to Norway, and the war was started, and the conflict in Iraq. On the chapter 10, after they return from Iraq to Norway, they focus to describe his time on school, and he have some interesting memories from his time on school. He reminds that some teachers were non-polite with some students also, Some students were non-polite with some other students in the classroom, and as you probably imagine, some big brothers get in some kind of troubles uh, with their older students, also the youngest students, kids that were studying on this school. Also, he reminds that their parents, when they were like 10 years old, invite them to practice some ski on the Norwegian mountains, and he start to develop some kind of taste for the camo clothing, and using some special hat that his dad have from his time when he was a Boy Scout. Also, uh, he tried to remember some memories when they have some winter time troubles with his family, and some kind of skills that he started to develop with his older brother on the cabins and on the mountains, and starting to take a look on the landscapes, about the nature, about the forest, about the atmosphere of the Norwegian winter, also in summertime too. Uh, he continued describing that when he was 9 years old and he was on third grade, uh, his family moved from Odinsvej to Trimsvej, and he have a little anecdote about some friend called Johnny, that he have some kind of interesting role on his life, but will say that he will talk about this drama uh, later on the book. Also, he continued describing some memories about his family, about his hobbies, that he started to get some information about the role games, that he start to develop some kind of interest in on playing role games with his friends on the neighborhood, and he described very in a very simple way how he made his scar on his cheek, that he had some kind of little accident when he was practicing ski in some kind of mountain that have some kind of platform to jump. So when he took the platform, he his jump was not good, so he fall to the floor on his ski, and he unfortunately made that scar on his cheek. So we probably remember that scar in the trial when he was convicted for the situation that success unfortunately on this history of his life. School in Norway was not so easy, like in every country that we probably remember those times around the school. We have some kind of situations, some situations were fine, some situation absolutely wasn't very nice for us, but it's like a typical life when you are studying. You need to get some strength to try to bring your best to get some good notes. Also, we can start to develop some kind of knowledge and some kind of IQ that if you are smart, or maybe you are not so smart than other students in the school. So particularly he reminds this school time like a little bit crazy, and some situations, especially because the kids were a little bit rude on these years, and they have some kind of fights at the school, some kind of discussions. Maybe they have some kind of adventures on the neighborhood, trying to play in some kind of games that probably their fathers, their parents saw with not a good way. So it was a little bit tricky, but it's part of life. It's part when you are a teenager that your role on the world is trying to discover what is life, what is good, what is wrong. Also, we when we were kids, we remember good having a good time with friends. Also the memories that he shared with us about the religion are particularly interesting. So he said that people started to get into Christianity and the religion thing, but for example, Norwegians don't go to the church, or even they don't some regular prayings at his houses. And it was quite interesting that on the paper he explained that people are Christians on Norway, but in the real life they don't practice that kind of religion, that kind of rules that some religions have a statement. So it's quite interesting that we can find the religion thing on Norway particularly strong, but it's not like we think. So it's a little bit confused at the same time. Those fights back on these days were some kind of unexpected, but it was the part of the conflict when you are a teenager studying in a school and trying to have a place around the other students on the classroom and outside the classroom, of course. Like he said that he have a older brother, so sometimes his older brother defend him from others more aggressive students that try to get some kind of conflicts with him. So especially he reminds that his time at school was a waste of time, because sometimes he don't think that the things that the teacher teach to the students were particularly important for his life. Continue with the description on this book about these memories of childhood. He reminds that he launched a couple of rockets of fireworks on the day before New Year's Eve on the rooftop with some school friends, and also he talked about using some kind of toys like a rifle, and it was particularly interesting that when he was with his friends, they tried to create some kind of scenarios, like they are in the middle of some kind of missions, if we can talk. And he continued talking about some memories of his childhood with his school friends. Then he reminds that when he have some knowledge about how to drive a boat, and also climbing on the mountains with his older brother. Also, he reminds some games that he played, like Twilight 2000 or Warhammer, Fantasy RPG, Bushido, Conan roleplay games, Cyberpunk, and Pendragon, RuneQuest. So it was very interesting to see that he have some kind of very high interest for playing role games. Also, he reminds to us that he started to play guitar at the age of 13. So it's quite interesting that he maybe when he got the guitar, it was like the starting point to transform or to be like a musician on the future years. So it's very interesting that he started to develop this kind of taste for playing guitar. After that, he reminds us that when he skipped some kind of math classes at the school, he said that we can homeschool our kids. If you have a father or mother, you can homeschool your kids, and it's better because he thinks that the school is a waste of time, especially because the situations between the students and some useful teachers that are not right capacitate to teach some kind of topics. So it's better if you can homeschool your kids at school, like he do with his kids actually on his house in France. So this book is like a journey about some relevant aspects like his childhood, his time on Iraq, then when he started to get their first classes on school, also the fights, of course, and the conflicts that happened during his school time. And he finished the book with an interesting paragraph that say this: hell is, as I see, is not so much when you suffer yourself, but rather when you have to witness the suffering of others. Heaven is, as I see, to be able to live honorable and also to help others to do the same. Very good book. I really enjoyed reading, and I hope that you buy the book too to get some more information and some more memories about him. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment and thumbs up.